The lights in the studio were too bright, too perfect. Brad Pitt adjusted his suit jacket as the cameras rolled. He was on Jimmy Kimmel Live, expected to laugh, promote a new charity project, and maybe throw in a story about filming in Morocco. The crowd cheered wildly as he took his seat. Brad smiled, but not with his eyes. Jimmy began with a few harmless jokes. So Brad, when you're not winning Oscars or building schools, are you busy arguing with European directors again? Laughter. Brad smiled tightly. I thought we were here to talk about clean water in Sudan. Jimmy chuckled, shuffling his cue cards. We'll get there. But people want the full picture. The lawsuits, the fallout, the rumors. It's all part of the Brad Pitt universe. Brad paused. The smile dropped. Jimmy, he said softly, leaning forward, do you ever stop to think what this show actually does? The room fell slightly quiet. The band behind the cameras froze mid-chord. Jimmy raised an eyebrow. We make people laugh, Brad. Brad leaned in closer. No, you train people what to care about. You take real pain, real stories, and turn them into a joke. It's not funny anymore. Jimmy looked uneasy. Okay, come on. We all agreed not to go to Sirius tonight. I mean, you're the guy who turned divorce into a meme? Brad didn't. Blink. Exactly. You know what Project Veritas Prime is, Jimmy? A murmur moved through the audience. Jimmy blinked fast. Is that a film project? A script? No, Brad said. Cold, you're part of it. You know what I'm talking about? That's when the director in the control room started yelling into the headset. Cut his mic! Cut his mic now! The feed stuttered. For a half second, the live broadcast glitched a black screen, and a red and white symbol, VICE Protocol 9A, and then static. In a government facility thousands of miles away, a man in a dark suit stared at a wall of screens. One monitor went black. Another flashed the same red and white emblem. The man turned to the room. We have a breach, he said. Initiate lockdown. Back in the studio, the live audience sat in stunned silence. Brad stood, removed his microphone, and tossed it on the desk. Jimmy looked frozen. The production team, all in headsets, were talking fast, trying to figure out if they had just aired a career-ending moment or something much more dangerous. A female producer ran toward the stage. We have to clear the set, she said quietly. Right? Now, Brad was already heading for the exit. On his way out, he turned to the crowd, looked directly into the nearest camera, and said, You're not watching a show. You're watching a system. And it just blinked. The episode never aired in full. Within 10 minutes, all social media posts referencing the interview were taken down. The YouTube channel uploaded a generic monologue clip from the night before. No mention of Brad Pitt, but someone had screen recorded the glitch, that red and white symbol, and uploaded it to a conspiracy forum. It spread like wildfire. Reddit threads exploded. Independent journalists began asking questions. What is Protocol 9A? What is VICE? And most of all, what the hell did Brad Pitt just uncover on live TV? It had only been 20 minutes since the broadcast cut. But across forums, encrypted channels, and Twitter X threads, the symbol had already gone viral. VICE Protocol 9A was trending globally even before news outlets caught on. Inside a secure facility at Langley, 4 analysts surrounded a central console. One zoomed in on a still frame from the feed. The red and white symbol shimmered beneath a glitching overlay. This wasn't an accident, said a senior analyst. Someone injected it into the live stream directly. That takes internal access. The director of the Broadcast Security Division looked up. Where's Pitt now? Another screen blinked. On blurry security cam footage of Brad leaving the Kimmel studio alone, no security detail, no PR handler, just a plain black car waiting by the alley. He knew the symbol would trigger a protocol, said the analyst. The question is, why now? Meanwhile, inside a nondescript hotel suite in downtown LA, Brad Pitt sat across from a woman with silver hair tied in a tight knot. She was not his manager nor a publicist. She was wearing a badge tucked barely into view. NSIO National Strategic Intelligence Office. "You shouldn't have said it on air," she told him, pouring tea with steady hands. "You triggered assets we haven't deployed in 15 years. Brad exhaled slowly, staring at the blank television. "Then maybe they should wake up. You were one of our best," she replied, "until you went silent." "I was playing a role," he snapped. "Do you know what they buried under Project Veritas Prime? And now the same people are trying to activate Phase 9. She looked at him, eyes narrowing. "We don't even know if Phase 9 was real." Brad leaned forward, voice low. "Jimmy knows." Inside the Kimmel studio, everything had changed. The stage was empty. The cameras were off. But in a sealed room marked TECH-12, 3 executives reviewed the footage frame by frame. "It's not just what Pitt said," one whispered. What the system picked up when he said it. He hit pause. The screen froze on a moment just after Brad said, "You're part of it." The glitch occurred exactly 0.7 seconds later, triggered by voice recognition software. It activated autonomously, another executive said. That symbol wasn't broadcast manually. They looked at each other, realizing what that meant. This was hardwired. Someone embedded a backdoor years ago. It's been listening this entire time. In Washington, D.C., the White House communications director fielded calls from reporters asking about the Vice protocol. She had no answers, officially, but her phone buzzed again. A private message. Sender Renault. "You need to find Archive Room K. What happened tonight started in 2004, and it was never declassified." She stared at the name. Renault had disappeared from the intelligence database 10 years ago, presumed dead or defected. Now he was back, and he was pointing her somewhere dangerous. At the same moment, the Fox building in New York received an anonymous USB dropped by a courier wearing a pizza delivery uniform. Inside, partial decrypted documents bearing the headers. Project VIC Veritas. Prime Initiation Sequence Classified Interlock Exec 9A. Authorization only the document. Mentioned names, actors, journalists, even foreign leaders. But most shocking of all, it contained a sentence at the top of the first page. Behavioral modulation via broadcast engagement. Live test subjects required. Priority. Celebrities. Back in Los Angeles, Brad Pitt stood on a rooftop, alone. Below, sirens passed. Helicopters hovered in the distance. His phone buzzed once. "Unknown number, you open the door, Pitt. Now walk through it, before they slam it shut again." Brad looked out at the horizon, quiet, dark, and crawling with surveillance. He didn't know who else would stand with him. The cameras weren't watching him anymore. They were watching everyone. And now the world had finally seen the lens. Deep below the National Archives building in Washington, D.C. Behind 2 biometric security doors and a nondescript service corridor, was a place never listed on any official floor plan. Archive Room K. The room hadn't been accessed in over a decade until now. White House Communications Director Elise Navarro entered with a security escort and a decrypted digital key. Sent hours earlier by the mysterious sender Renault. The air inside the room was dry and cold. Fluorescent lights flickered too. Life above endless rows of file cabinets, analog tapes, and aging servers marked with red wax seals. A single envelope lay on the center table. It read, Initiation, VICE. Inside were 3 items. A classified transcript of a 2004 interview between a high-ranking media producer and an unnamed CIA liaison. A VHS tape labeled Prime Signal Test Subject BR-117, a map of major U.S. cities each marked with red nodes tied to national broadcast antennas. Navarro's hands trembled slightly as she inserted the tape into the archival player. The grainy footage showed a young, unknown actor seated in a test chamber, wires attached to his scalp. The voice off camera was chilling, calm, controlled. Begin Veritas prime modulation. Target BR117. Confirm behavioral shift post-exposure to controlled narrative loop. The subject visibly changed after 3 minutes of footage. Its tone. Expressions even, posture malleable. Navarro's jaw clenched. They were programming them? The CIA liaison's voice continued. Once public exposure passes 250 million impressions, we initiate mass media proxy, controlled descent, emotional cycling. If test subjects, particularly known celebrities, respond as expected, Protocol 9A becomes self-sustaining. Ski hit. Weisk wasn't just surveillance. It was manipulation at using celebrities as unwitting anchors for psychological mass influence. And Pitt's on-air outburst? That wasn't a meltdown. It was resistance. In Los Angeles, Brad Pitt stood in front of a nondescript warehouse on the edge of Burbank. Inside, James O'Keefe and an independent security researcher named Tara. Lynn had set up a data center carved out of old broadcast truck equipment. Dozens of monitors flickered with live feeds from major networks. We cracked the symbol, Tara said, pointing to a red hexagon pulsating on a black screen. It's not just a glitch, she continued. It's a trigger. When a keyword is spoken, words like Veritas Protocol or Phase 9, it trips an old DARPA sequence embedded in syndicated network code. Pitt stared. You're saying anyone who says it, activates it? No, she said, only some people. Only those tagged. Pitt blinked. Tagged. Tara brought up a list of encoded names. BR2117 was one of them. So were others. Actors, musicians, news anchors. Some marked dormant, a few marked active. Few were part of a program, O'Keefe said. They built you up, shaped your interviews, surrounded you with handlers. And when you started pulling away, when you went quiet a few years back, they marked you a risk. Pitt exhaled, then muttered, and I gave them a reason to activate. Now they're cleaning up, Tara said. One of our sources from inside the FCC just leaked a memo. Emergency Authorization 9A has been invoked. That means digital erasure, character assassination, and in some cases, disappearances. She tapped another file. Subject, Chris Rock's status, compromised last seen. Kimmel Studio 2, 72 hours prior. Pitt stared at the screen. Kay tried to warn them. Meanwhile, inside an NSA black site, a man in a gray suit reviewed encrypted footage of Pitt's interview frame B frame. The phrase, "You're part of it, Jimmy," triggered the surge. But the moment after the moment no one else saw was what truly worried him. In one frame, Pitt looked straight at the camera, his expression unreadable. But he mouthed the words, "I know where it started." The man closed the screen and picked up a satellite phone. "Activate Tier 2. If he reaches Germany, we lose the frame." Back in LA, Pitt pulled a burner phone from his pocket and dialed a single number. "Navarro," he said. "I know what archive room K holds." There was silence. Then, a quiet voice replied, "You're not the only one digging now. They'll come after both of us," he said. "They already are," she replied. "We just bought ourselves a very small window. I hope you're ready for what comes next." Pitt looked up at the night sky. Planes buzzed overhead, but for the first time, he wasn't looking up with wonder. He was watching for drones. Frankfurt, Germany. It was just past midnight when Brad Pitt stepped off a private charter plane onto the rain-slicked tarmac of a closed military airstrip. No press, no paparazzi. Only one black SUV waited under the floodlights, engine humming. Inside, Elise. Navarro was already seated. "You made it," she said, sliding a tablet toward him. On screen was a heavily redacted CIA dossier marked Project Echo Veritas Origin Node, Base -29. Base 29, Pitt murmured, eyes scanning the text. "This is where it started. Where you started," Navarro said. Germany, 1996. A NATO psychological operations site was running covert celebrity memory studies. Using sensory feedback loops and controlled trauma exposure. You're telling me I was recruited into a brainwashing experiment before I even hit my peak? Not recruited, she corrected, conditioned. Inside a stone-walled safe house in the city's old quarter, Pitt, Navarro, and tech researcher Tara Lynn gathered around a cracked laptop linked to a secure satellite feed. Their window into the system was brief thanks to an exploit Tara had installed via a hijacked Kimmel broadcast server. She tapped the screen, which displayed a grid of blurred faces and corresponding labels. BR2 117, activated CR 114. In custody, MC319 erased RM 442. Pending each code is a media figure, Tara said. Not all know what they or were. But when the right keyword is spoken, a program called Spectre locks them into narrative alignment. Pitt frowned. You mean, yes, Tara said. System forces them to support the message of the day, even if they think it's their opinion, Navarro added. What you triggered on Kimmel wasn't a breakdown. It was freedom, but the system flagged it as a virus. Suddenly, a second screen went black. Then a message appeared in red. ECH09 a tracer initiated trace complete run. Tara whispered. They found us. Moments later, the safe house exploded into chaos. Two men in tactical gear burst through the back entrance. Their rifles silenced but deadly. Pitt grabbed Navarro and they ducked into the stairwell. Tara yanked a flash drive from the laptop and flung it into her coat pocket before throwing an emergency blackout grenade. By the time the smoke cleared, all three were gone. Berlin. 12 hours later, in a dimly lit cafe surrounded by antique mirrors, the trio met with someone Navarro swore was untouchable. Andreas Kroll, a former intelligence officer turned media whistleblower. You've poked the bear, he warned them. Laying out a map of satellite broadcast towers in Europe and the U.S. Project Echo wasn't just an experiment. It's still active. And what you triggered? That symbol, that phrase. It's part of something far older. He flipped the map. Underneath was a symbol, Vikes Protocol 9A Vice. Wasn't just about propaganda, Kroll explained. It was designed to weaponize empathy to control audiences through carefully choreographed media trauma. Celebrity meltdowns, live. Showdowns, political walkouts. Each one was a calculated pulse designed to shape public emotion. Pitt was silent. Navarro asked, "What's the end goal?" Kroll exhaled slowly. Emotional herd control. Keep the population feeling something loudly so they never think deeply. But why activate Pitt now? Tara asked, "'Cause he's an anomaly." He started to question the script. The moment he veered, it exposed a flaw. The system panicked. Kroll handed Pitt a hard drive. This has footage they buried your old interview from '96 in Germany. Before the reprogramming, watch it and you'll understand why they fear you. That night alone in a safe house above the Spree River, Pitt played the video. The 1996 version of himself sat across from two men in suits. One asked, "What would you say is your greatest fear?" The younger Pitt answered quietly, "Losing. The ability to tell what's real." Then he looked at the camera directly into it. "And if this gets out, remember, they don't want the truth. They want the performance of truth." Present-day Pitt shut the laptop. "I remember now," he whispered. Behind him, a drone hovered. A transmission. Langley, Virginia. The CIA operations floor was unusually quiet. On the main screen, paused at frame 00132, was Brad Pitt's freeze frame from the Kimmel interview, his eyes locked with the lens, mouth mid-sentence. The words he had spoken moments before the show was cut off still echoed through the briefing room. "You're part of it, Jimmy. You know what I'm talking about?" "Run it again," ordered Deputy Director Olivia Crane. She was tall, stern and deadly calm. Career intelligence officer who once specialized in Cold War PISOPs. She knew what this meant. Static. Distortion reappeared. the symbol VICE, Protocol 9A, a flicker, almost imperceptible to the public eye. Slow it to quarter speed. Enhance lower left quadrant. An analyst obeyed. A second symbol appeared, just 2 frames before the glitch ended, a sequence of letters embedded inside a code band. B1R1A7D5 unlocked. Crane turned to her team. He wasn't supposed to know that sequence. That's internal Tier 3 override coding. Who briefed him? No one answered. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, in a safe house hidden beneath a decommissioned observatory outside Prague, Brad Pitt sat in front of a monitor. Tara Lynn, the hacker, had managed to decrypt part of the hard drive given to them by Kroll. On-screen intercepted NSA training footage. Early 2000s, a black room. No faces. A voice through intercom. Subject B1R1A7D5 has shown elevated resistance to emotional resonance loops. Memory fracturing insufficient. Adjusting narrative dosage. Pitt leaned back in his chair, fists clenched. They've been rehearsing my life. Tara looked pale. Not just you, there's a whole pattern. Look, each public scandal, meltdown, cancellation, they coincide with geopolitical movements. Election seasons, market crashes, war votes. She pulled up a timeline. 2005 actor breakdown on live TV, Eurozone vote held same week 2014. Singer exposes secret affair on award stage, NDAA passed with surveillance expansions 2020. Political guest storms off talk show, crisis funding diverted to unreported projects. It's not coincidence, Tara said. These events are designed. You were programmed to be the ultimate misdirection. Navarro entered with fresh intel. They're spinning the Kimmel incident, she said. Mainstream outlets say it was a mental health episode. They're burying it. But Reddit and X, they're calling it a glitch in the simulation. Protocol 9A is trending. Pitt stood, eyes burning. Good. Let it trend. Later. That night, Pitt made a choice. They hacked into a broadcast uplink old Cold War radio repeater in Hungary. Repurposed but still connected to a satellite loop used for European weather feeds. It wasn't designed for video, but Tara had modified the stream compression. Live across thousands of feeds in Europe and Asia. Brad Pitt appeared against a black background, dressed plainly. He spoke directly to the camera. I'm not here to act, not here to entertain. I'm here to tell you that most of what you feel when you watch us celebrities, late-night hosts, scandal zits, designed. You think it's personal. It's programmed. Every rise, every fall, every mistake. Most of it is fed to you. Like a script you're too distracted to question. I was one of the test cases. From the start, they called it Vice, but now it's become something else, something global. If I disappear after this, know one thing. You've been lied to. Not just about Mia, about everything. As he ended the feed, he looked off camera and whispered, "Initiate Veritas." The screen went black. Across the world, viewers were stunned. Many didn't see it. The broadcast was instantly taken down on several platforms. In China, Russia, and the US, it was scrubbed in real time by firewalls and AI moderation systems. But some had recorded it. Within minutes, clips flooded Telegram, Rumble, and dark web threads. The phrase "Initiate Veritas" began appearing on city walls in spray paint, on train station LED boards, even projected on the side of Parliament. In London, back in Langley, panic had turned to action. Deputy Director Crane issued a black order. Protocol 9A is no longer passive. I want Brad Pitt ghosted. The room froze. Ghosted meant neutralized, erased from all media channels, social records, and bank systems. He's gone rogue, she added, and he's waking up the others. An agent nearby whispered, "Others." Crane looked him in the eye. "If you really think he was the only one?" Cut to black. 3 days after Brad Pitt's rogue broadcast, the world's information systems pulsed with tension. On the surface, the media had buried it, calling it a deepfake, a publicity stunt, a breakdown. But underground, in encrypted chats and anonymous, boards Pitt had become something else, a fuse. The message initiated Veritas had spread like a virus. People across continents began digging into old footage, contracts, redacted court cases, and strangely timed celebrity breakdowns. Dozens of anonymous leaks flooded into Terra Lynn's secure server. But with every revelation, the risk grew. In a Paris apartment rigged with jammers and EMP blockers, Pitt sat in silence. He stared at a screen showing 7 video thumbnails labeled Veritas Drop Alpha G. The videos were time-released, disclosures variants he never knew existed, about himself and others. Not theories proof. One showed a classified document titled Social Influence Index. Subject: B1R1A75 underneath, Behavior Modification Cycle 19972019. Compliance drift achieved, 82.4% emotional deviation control, green Pitt slammed. The laptop shut. They logged how I felt for 20 years. Tara nodded. And how you made others feel. That's what this is about, Brad. Not control of you, control through you. You were their Trojan horse into the public mind. Pitt stood, pacing. If I drop these ... I'm not just burning the industry. I'm burning everything that touches it. That's the point. Meanwhile, in Washington, chaos simmered under the surface. In a soundproof NSA vault, a secret subcommittee convened under Operation Civ, seated intelligence chiefs, tech company liaisons, and military contractors. At the head, Deputy Director Olivia Crane. Our threat matrix has shifted, Crane began. This isn't celebrity fallout. This is an information insurgency. Pitt is triggering memory resonance in at-risk subjects. We're seeing cross-activation. Define cross-activation, asked a cyber warfare officer. Crane tapped a button. On the screen, news clips of various public figures, actors, singers. Even to senators suddenly withdrawing from public life or going off script in bizarre televised rants. Some of them are waking up, Crane said, from embedded conditioning. It traced a spike in neural pattern disruption tied to Pitt's broadcast. Think of it as sleeper cells of truth. The room fell silent. What do you propose? Asked a Homeland Security liaison. Contain the narrative. Discredit the figurehead. And reframe the message as a psychotic break wrapped in AI disinfo warfare. The message must be poisoned. But Pitt was ahead of them. From a private darknet site called Econode, known only to whistleblowers and rogue academics, he released Veritas Drop Alpha. The video began simply. You think I'm crazy? You've seen the headlines. I get it. But here's the part they won't let you see. The screen showed sealed federal contracts between Hollywood production studios and government agencies. Names were blurred but signatures visible. Pitt narrated over scenes of public meltdowns, police mugshots, and secretly filmed behavioral correction clinics. This isn't about me. It's about them, the handlers, the editors, the ones who write the world you think you live in. You've been watching a movie. It just wasn't the one you bought tickets for. The video ended with a blinking message. Drop Bravo in 72 hours. Unless I'm dead first. Cross cities, the Veritas movement exploded. Hackers aligned. Investigators defected. A CNN producer was found to have smuggled years of suppressed footage out of network archives. An Oscar-winning actor released a chilling memoir, admitting to being scripted since age 19, and Pitt hunted, idolized, and increasingly unstable became a lightning rod. Navarro, the ex-CIA analyst now working with him, warned him quietly, "You're not bulletproof, Brad. This is bigger than truth. This is belief. If people believe it, ... they'll follow you. And if they follow you, they'll kill me. Sooner," he finished. She nodded. "Or you'll have to lead them." Pitt looked away. "I'm not a leader. I'm a symptom." At Langley, Crane received a new file. Top secret. Level red. It read, unknown party accessing Vice framework through obsolete server node in Berlin. Encryption cracked. A protocol 0 recommended. She stared at it for a moment, then whispered, initiate 0 clearance. The clock ticked down 3 days. One final drop. Then the world would either break open or seal shut forever. It was midnight in Berlin. Rain tapped on the old windows of an abandoned embassy wired like a war bunker. Inside, Brad Pitt stood in front of a dusty green screen. His face was calm, eyes steady. The Veritas drop Charlie was about to go live. Across the world, phones vibrated. Notifications flooded encrypted channels. Final transmission incoming, 3 o'clock. UTC watch only once Tara Lynn stood by the server, fingers dancing across keys. Live link ready. Once it starts, we can't stop it, not even us. Pitt nodded. Then we let them see. He stepped in front of the lens. The lights flicked on. No makeup, no filters, no edits. It's just a man finally refusing to play his part. They told you I stormed off a show, that I lost my mind. But the truth is, I found it. And I'm not the only one. He paused. A static flicker rolled across the screen, then steadied. This isn't a story about Hollywood. This is about every place where truth is sold in pieces and repackaged as trust. Late-night shows, morning news, politics, entertainment, it's all one system. One message, we were made into mirrors, reflecting whatever they needed you to feel. I laughed when they said to, cried when it sold better. But they never owned my soul, and they don't own yours. Tonight, we end the script with that. Pitt stepped aside. The screen faded to black and then loaded a series of never-before-seen videos. The first was from a 2009 government meeting labeled Media Compliance Initiative. A room full of executives, intelligence officers, and government officials strategizing how to use influencers, celebrities, and viral formats to manage population emotion. Another showed a young singer, barely 16, being coached by 3 handlers in an underground studio on how to publicly break down on stage to boost her relatability score. A final video revealed surveillance footage of global leaders in a closed-door G12 summit. They weren't arguing about climate change. They were drafting behavioral language frameworks, how to use fear, grief, and hope as programmable signals. The world watched. Millions across continents sat in silence, not moving, not blinking, and then darkness. The stream cut. Every screen froze. In a government surveillance command center deep beneath Brussels, alarms blared. "Shut it down," barked Director Crane, now visibly shaken. "Purge every node." "Do it now." A tech officer hesitated. "Ma'am, we lost the original node. It was never routed through Berlin. It was a ghost shell." Crane stared. Then who the hell? Back in the Berlin hideout, Tara looked up from her laptop. "It's out." Every backup node kicked. And Veritas is in the chain. Decentralized, peer-to-peer. They can't delete it now. Pitt didn't smile. He simply closed his eyes. "Good, then it's done." "No," Tara said. "It started." At that moment, James O'Keefe appeared on screen from a secure signal. "Brad, we've got more than clicks." A former intel officer just came forward. "Everything you said, he has proof. And he's naming names. Supreme Court, UN delegates, tech CEOs. Pitt leaned forward. "Are we ready for that?" "You weren't ready either," O'Keefe replied. "But you showed up anyway." Over the following days, countries saw mass protests, but unlike before, there were no slogans, no flags, just people standing in silence, holding signs that read, "No more scripts. We see you now. Veritas lives." The Vice CE system, a secret framework used by intelligence agencies to manipulate public consciousness through media, was confirmed to exist. Whistleblowers leaked the full protocol index. Independent journalists broke down every detail. It became clear celebrities, politicians, even online trends had all been prescripted to control emotional cycles globally. But in the center of it, always a quiet man who had once just wanted to promote a humanitarian project. Brad Pitt disappeared after the final drop. Some say he's in Finland. Others think he's dead. Few believe he's still watching, waiting. But something had shifted. Trust, once broken, could not be re-engineered. And across screens everywhere, a simple phrase lingered. We are not actors anymore. The curtain was never pulled again.